Well, here we are again. For the 999th time, pardon the pun, we have another fantasy/power fantasy anime with a general human versus demonkind setup. Who could have seen that coming, eh? In all fairness though, maybe something good will come out of this premise this time around, so let's just dive right into episode 1 and 2 of The Villager of level 999. If you're curious about my oral first impressions, that'll be at the end of the video, and of course you can always check the chapters down below for any specific part you might be the most interested in. Now, as I always mention, any anime like this, any fantasy anime, any sort of game-esque leveling anime like this, I always get super interested in the world and how the game-like world functions. We are dropped right into this one where our MC kills a monster and the monster drops coins, which is more gamey than the average anime in this genre. We also later see that they can also drop rare items, so this is a very gamey type of fantasy anime from the get-go. Of course, there is also a leveling system and classes to boot. As you probably guessed by the title, yes of course, our main character is a villager, the lowest of the low, the classic trope of the main character supposedly being hyper weak, or at least that's the expectation, but somehow, someway, he has managed to become uber duper super powerful and the best ever. In this world, at least, outside of the villager rank, which is basically nothing, you have, mages, hunters, I suppose swordsmen, and other roles that are like the mid-tier, and then you have the exceptional roles, as they say, sage, hero, and king. And all of them have different bonuses to leveling stats, which I find interesting, and different special skills they can get at certain level caps, etc, etc. There are multiple game-like elements in this show that I find interesting though as well. I do quite like the status window system in this anime, where you can just open your status for other people to see, so they can see your class as well as level, and assumingly it can't be cheated. It's a very sort of simple way to just honestly portray who you are, how strong you are, and you can't really fake your way into anything you shouldn't be doing. Our main character is level 999, of course, but it seems in this world, at least initially I thought, okay, so the hero is level 90, and he is super proud of that, and people seem to be very impressed by that. So I thought, okay, so there's no one above level 100 here, or what? But then we do meet the very femme friend of him in episode 2, who is level 124, so I guess people are generally in that level range, still far, far below our MC. Well, what was also interesting to me, though, is that the leveling here is not linear. At least to me, it seems like it's not. For example, at level 86, when he finds out the hero is level 90, when the hero is recruiting in the initial episode, he seems almost stunned, and the people watching also seem very impressed by this. To me, this indicates that the level ups are far from linear, and that each level is exponentially harder than the last, at least in some respect. Maybe I'm wrong though, who knows, we'll find out hopefully later on. What we learned from the friend though, the monk in episode 2, which I found really interesting on the leveling point here, is that, him as a monk gains 3 times the amount of stats or power per level that our MC does as a villager. And I can only assume that like even the higher classes, like the classes of hero, sage, etc, have even higher gains per level, maybe even 5 times or even more, meaning that, of course, being level 100 as the monk means he is almost level 400 at this point in relation to our MC. The monk also mentions that every 100 levels, depending on your class, you get special skills. His is apparently especially fearsome, he says. I wonder if that's just random, the skill you get within your class, or if there's some sort of choice involved. Hopefully we'll find out more about that later on sometime. He also gives us information that you get XP by beating monsters of a higher level. So as you level up, I assume it gets harder and harder to get XP. But the way you said it made it seem to me like, okay, you only get XP if you beat a monster of a higher level. But I assume that can't be the case, because our MC is level 999, so are there monsters of level 1000 plus? I assume it is rather you get way less XP for equal or lower level monsters, but maybe we will get clarification on that later on. When the main character does have this initial confrontation as well with the hero in this cave, and he is confronted about how he got to be the level he is, he says he just, killed monsters all day every day. Which the hero retorted that he has done the same, but yet he is stuck at level 90. To which later, the main character as well says, no, it's not just about killing, there is something else to it. So how exactly he leveled the way he did, well, it's quite unsure still, but I am quite curious to find out more on this whole leveling system and this game-like world. This brings us to Kouji, our main character, and who exactly is he? The initial impression I got in episode 1 was that, okay, he seems very laissez-faire, very casual in his approach to the world. Doesn't view himself as anything special or powerful, he just goes about his day-to-day life, farming monsters for money. We do see him looking at this rewards board, I suppose, at the guild, and he's looking at a 10k gold item with a chest icon, with a question mark on it, and he says he's halfway there. So he is wanting to buy that for some reason, and I suppose that could be his big motivation for farming like this, and I assume also getting that level in the first place. I can only imagine we will get much more information about this item or thing he wants for 10k gold down the line, but I suppose that might end up serving as one of the big motivators for what he is doing day to day as of now. Another thing though that might be a reason for him being the way he is the specific comment he gives to the hero in the confrontation in the cave in episode 1, where he tells the hero that he doesn't really understand the world, and that there are many things he does not yet know. This comment as well seems to really lean into a lot of what our main character is, because he's far from normal, let's say, in the power fantasy setup, as he has no interest in going after the Demon King or Demonkind, which most people, or humans rather, seem very keen on doing in this world. I do quite like the general intelligence and quick-footedness that Kouji is shown to have as well in the first few episodes. I like the scene where we see him improvising very rapidly and intelligently to get the Demon Princess out of danger from the hero's party, thinking quick on his feet to get her out of that situation. And then later on as well, showing his calculated and general intelligent nature when he is borderline admonishing the hero's party for going off half-cocked as they are trying to just annihilate this one attacking force of the Demon King. As he then explains to them, hey, let's learn what they're trying to do here, let's talk to them, let's not just go off half-cocked attack. Maybe we even want to let them attack this town because we have adventurers in this town that could better defend it. We don't know how many other cities they are attacking. Maybe this is just a probing force, etc., etc., etc. They seem to want to position our MC as a relatively intelligent, calculating character, and I always appreciate those in general. So hopefully they keep going that route with him. On a personal level though, he does seem quite, well, enigmatic as of yet still, since we know quite little about him. From the interactions with the hero's party initially, we learn that he has no interest in killing the Demon King, he has no interest in hunting demons. He doesn't see them as harmful or something that he has to defeat. He feels no responsibility to the human race or doesn't view killing demons as the solution to it. He has no want for glory or power or the hand of the princess, seemingly as well. And he's more than happy to point out the hypocritical self-righteousness of the princess, talking about suffering among the common people all the while as well. Our MC is caring though, as he himself says. Yeah, he just earns a living, but if he sees people in trouble, he saves them. He does what he can, day to day, but he has no lofty goals of being a hero or becoming known to all as some powerful being. He's also quite clear about him seeing no benefit or achievement in killing the Demon King, as he, I assume, realizes or knows that doing so will not solve anyone's problems, it might even make things worse. And he is one of the few humans that are not hostile to demons. As of course, as mentioned earlier, this anime is going the classic route of main character plus one or two side characters from the other side want to achieve peace and stop the killing and hostility. And while we'll see how far that goes in this one. We also learn that the MC has had a few run-ins with the Demon Lord once or twice before, and it seems to me at least he's sitting on a lot of information that we are yet to find out what exactly is, and we are left clueless on many aspects of his experiences and knowledge, just as the rest of the characters in the show are, so far at least. We only get one quick flashback in the first few episodes as well, regarding his background, seeming like his father or guardian was killed by a monster when he was young, and then him coming home and I assume finding his mother dead from a monster attack as well. This likely leading to him risking his life to kill monsters from a young age. Maybe for revenge, maybe for some other specific goal, who knows. But at least that seems clear is shown to be the catalyst that put him on this specific path to becoming, well, the most powerful in the world. The comment from the monk as well, in episode 2 regarding our MC, that no one could achieve what he has done, because he has a special ability of some kind. To me at least, that felt like, right, so he has like, what, no will to live? no self-preservation instinct? Or maybe it's something completely else. At least to me, it seems like maybe they're trying to position our main character as being, well, laissez-faire about his own life, potentially, as well. We don't find out too much about his power level either. He is obviously insanely physically powerful, though we do get many hints that, okay, maybe he can't really use magic much, and that is perhaps his biggest limiting factor. Though a lot remains yet to be seen on that front as well. As a whole, though, Kouji seems like a decent character. Yes, we know quite little about him so far. He's not super open in sharing things about his background or who he is, or we haven't really had a good time for him to exposit more about that. But as mentioned before, yes, he seems intelligent, analytical, calculating. He's a caring guy. He protects people when they need help. His motivations or wants are still unclear, but it's clear that he is positive about creating peace between humans and demons, as we see in his budding relationship with the demon princess that start to solidify in the first few episodes of the show. And I can only, of course, imagine as well that the relationship between Kouji and the demon lolly princess will become quite central during the course of the season, and it'll be a big driver for what happens throughout the entirety of season 1 of the anime. This brings us to, well, Demonkind, monsters, despair, suffering, the demon princess, and much more. Before that, though, if you're enjoying the content in any way, shape, or form, do please remember to like and subscribe. It greatly helps me out, the video out, the algorithm out, so thank you kindly for that. Now, the Demonkind and the Demon Lord and monsters and how that entire thing works in this world is semi-interesting so far. Early on, we learn that yes, demons emit aura, and thus monsters are created from the mana that the demon horns of the demons emit. Though we later learn, as I suspected, that no, they don't control this, it is just a part of who they are, and they can't control it, they can't do anything about it, and while in most ways they are quite similar to human beings, except for this one defining feature. Of course, it's still not unreasonable that humankind, or the majority of the humankind, want to annihilate the demonkind as a whole, because, well, they want the monsters to cease to exist. And even if they are not responsible, if they don't exist, well, that ergo should mean monsters stop spawning. Of course, that's not, I would say, enough to justify genocide, but hey, some people have lower bars. This also brings us to the Demon King, as we find out the reason his daughter is in the cave is to get this hero's sword that, well, the main character actually sold off a long time ago, whoopsie, but she's doing this because the Demon King is sick, and she is afraid that someone will come slay him, like the budding hero here. But while the hero is far ways off from making that happen, at least so far. As I mentioned though, this show does really seem they want to go this really classic route of the classic demon versus human conflict narrative, and spending, I assume, most of the show trying to explore this, and I assume maybe at the end of the season start getting closer to a, detente or peace of some kind. But still that being like the main driving factor and narrative and focal point of the main storyline. And even though that has been done many times before in similar anime, as long as the characters are good, as long as the narrative and story and plot is good enough, I don't mind exploring the same thing again in some slightly different way. Another thing that is interesting regarding the monsters and demons is how they interact. Because as we see the demon princess in episode 1, she can just go past these big blue monsters of some kind, and they don't even look at her, they don't even really realize she is there, or they at least ignore her, so they are not hostile at all to demons, seemingly. And as we also see, the demon commander, demon general, whoever that person is, declaring war on the humans at the tail end of episode 2, demons can seemingly also control monsters if they so wish, at least in some way and form, maybe with some requirements to make that happen. Now, the reason for this war breaking out at this time, I can also only assume is because the demon lord, which seemingly based on his daughter's beliefs, is of a similar mind, that humans and demons can coexist. Since he is now quite sick and weak, I assume the more warmongering people in his council or political hierarchy there have gotten enough power to launch this attack without him being able to, or strong enough rather, to stop it. But all that remains to be seen. This brings us though to the hero and his harem. I'm not sure how much I like this group of people yet in the show, but it's set up to be overly cliche, at least so far, at least to me. We are introduced to the hero, and yes, he seems extremely cliche. He is like the typical stereotypical good guy. Yes, we'll save humanity. I'm here to, find the best people for my party to slay the Demon King. Very classical, standard plot line of any MMORPG setup here. But then we do find out his, penchant for good-looking girls, as he seems to only want those specifically in his party. Initially, when I saw this, I thought, okay, so they're leaning more into the comedy here, not necessarily anything too serious, though this seems to be more of a specific light comedic element rather than them going overboard on the specific parts of the hero's character, like this vice for good-looking young women. Then again, as the main character says, hey, if you're the hero and you get to build your own party, if you want, good-looking women around you on your journey to get some more motivation, you do you, dude. Wherever you find more motivation, good on you. I mean, I can't say he's wrong. And I mean, if I was playing a game where I was the hero, I can't say I would do something different either. So, it is what it is. The princess we are also introduced to as the sage in the hero's party. She is most definitely the very stereotypical, noble, dutiful, and seemingly sheltered young girl, which fits the sage type perfectly as well. Even just being given a nickname by a fellow party member or two gets her blushing and, excited seemingly to experience something brand new for the first time in their life. I really don't know how much they're going to develop characters like the hero, the princess, the bratty purple-dressed mage, or the younger monk-esque girl character. Maybe they will just be very token characters in the story and have very little impact or interest as the season goes on. But I do hope they actually make something of the characters and don't just let them be cardboard, stereotypical people fulfilling the roles they have and being somewhat the antagonists to the main character, as that might quickly become boring. One thing that was interesting as well to me regarding the hero and, the hero's journey here, apparently the Demon King has been alive for a long time, supposedly, and because they are going to get this legendary sword meant for the hero that the royal family have been protecting to only basically give to heroes that were born into their own line, but now supposedly giving to this hero because the princess is part of his party. It does seem like a lot of heroes have, tried to be the Demon King and failed in the past, but how many have tried, who knows. The hero as well, in terms of his character, does seem really good at acting the right way. He is the perfect stereotype of how he acts. The brave, self-sacrificial, strong, brazen, main character-esque type that makes grand statements and showcases power and goes right at the enemy to protect his party and civilians, etc., etc. But I do wonder how much of that is just him acting that way, or how much of it is him being himself, since we did get that, chink in his character regarding the specific people he wanted in his party earlier. But he does seem to be a very super dutiful, honorable guy on the surface. So maybe we'll, again, hopefully explore his character a lot and the characters of his hero's party throughout Season 1. This brings me, lastly, almost, into the comedy aspects of this anime. As I mentioned before, at the early parts of Episode 1, I felt like, okay, this seems to be maybe more of a comedy. Maybe they want to play a lot on the comedic tunes here. But after watching the first two episodes, no, it doesn't really seem like they want to make this a big-ass comedy show or have it be very casual and lighthearted, but rather sprinkling in comedic elements and elements of lightheartedness in between the rest to, lighten the show, I suppose, here and there. There are multiple scenes, like the hero and, his harem antics, the, oops, I stole the Demon King slaying sword, whoops. No, I actually won't kill a Demon King to be your wife, or many, many other small scenes that were in the first episodes. I really just felt like, okay, it brings a smile to my face. It's something I might chuckle at, or it's something that might make a scene seem lighter and, happier, instead of being more sinister and depressing. So if they keep going like this throughout the season, then sure, okay, I'm happy having these relatively, seemingly well-timed, small comedic moments, while having the show seemingly be more of a, hopefully serious, more proper, quote-unquote, narrative and story and plot. If they do end up going way more into the comedy, though, that might very well bat the show down in many, many places for me, because that would not be super interesting for me to follow, I have to be honest. That, though, brings me to my first impressions of the show, and of course the end of the video after that. The first two episodes, they were not terrible at all. As I mentioned before, the MC seems yeah, he's likable overall. He's intelligent. He seems to have a lot going for him, a lot of aspects to his character that we are slowly peeling away at, which is hopefully going to keep me interested for a while. The hero party and the members seem very whatever to me so far. Hopefully they're not going to be irrelevant and just be a cardboard antagonist type list of characters and actually be interesting later in the story. But so far they're very whatever to me, and well, hopefully I do something more with them. The setting and the potential story developing here, it's, yes, as I said, it's very cliched. We've gone through this many times before, but if they do the story well, if they do the characters well, if they do the narrative well and make it fluid and nice and well constructed, then even this type of story, not accounting for any massive weird twists along the way, can be more than enjoyable to watch. So if they keep things going in the right direction, this might very well be a above average show for the season, and maybe even a recommendation by the end of it. If it becomes goofy though, and over the top comedic, and non-serious and more nonsensical, then I am very likely to stop caring about it, to say the least. Another thing going for the show as well is the at least average, maybe even above average animation quality, which can help carry the enjoyment as well, especially if we had some nice juicy fights along the way. Anyhow though, those are my first impressions and thoughts on episode 1 and 2 of The Villager level 999. I greatly hope you had some fun and learned something or some new insights and thoughts regarding the show watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it as well, of course. If you do, remember to like and subscribe, of course, as always. All that being said though, hope you had a very good time, keep watching anime, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.